Hello everybody, and Jess here, and welcome back to Ooyukiumi no Kaina, episode 7, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think I am, because I double-checked that, but as always, I'm gonna have to triple-check it, of course. Right, it's been a while, huh? I took a little bit of a break for a week. New semester at school, a brand new schedule, and everything is all sorts of fucky wacky. But instead of wallowing in pity and losing more time, I'm just going to sit down and record, even if I maybe don't entirely feel like recording. But I fully believe that it will come to me as I watch it, because that's how it's always the case, right? When you take a break from something, it suddenly doesn't seem as appealing, but then you start doing it and you get into the swing of things. So, Ooyukiumi no Kaina, episode 7. In the previous episode, what happened? Well, we, and by we I mean Kaina and Liliha's brother, whose name is, I forgot, but they set off to save Liliha. Yaona is Liliha's brother. They set off to save Liliha, and they did, kinda sorta. They freed Liliha from her cage, so that's good. But they were stuck on board because nobody really figured out any way how to escape from there. Not really very not really very, like, advanced thinking, I guess you could say. Although Liliha did help them hide a little by loosening that little boat that the ship was towing. And everybody, all of the Valgians, believe that they used that boat to escape or something along those lines. Nobody suspects that they are hiding inside of some empty crate. And now they have arrived to Valgia. And now it's going to be even harder to escape, because they are now in the center of enemy territory. They can't exactly hide or dress up as Valgians. Maybe Kaina and Yaona, I don't suppose many people know what they look like. It's not like there is, I don't know, TV or printing press or anything like that, so people don't know what rulers or children of rulers of their enemy countries look like. But the Admiral and Amelothe and a few other soldiers know precisely what Liliha looks like, so she probably will not pass for a Valgian. Dressing up in Valgian armor would be a way, sure. Problem is, they are very teenage shaped. They aren't quite as tall as other as Valgian soldiers, so finding armor that fits them, probably not going to happen. And passing for soldiers when they have clearly a stature of a teenager won't be easy either. So I wonder how they're gonna get out of this predicament. Honestly. I honestly don't know how they will get out of this situation. One thing would be if somehow the Atlantan army attacks and they manage to escape during the whole commotion, but it's not like Atlant has resources to attack Valgia. They just have those, like, snow steeds or whatever they call them, right? They don't have ships, they don't have any transportation vehicles or anything of the sort, so they can't exactly just attack Valgia. Maybe they will sit there and wait until Valgia attacks and use that commotion. Maybe. Probably not, though. Would make for one hell of a boring episode, just watching them sitting ducks. Maybe they will get some help from Amelothe? I don't know. I think as of yet it seems unlikely. Maybe in an episode or two, getting Amelothe's help would be actually a reasonable thing to happen. But right now, I don't think she's quite there yet. She is dissatisfied with the admiral, that's clear as day, but not quite to the point of treason. Not yet, at least. And of course, another way would be somehow enlisting the help of local populace. We see a couple of Valgian peasant, merchant kind of looking people in the opening. Maybe they will decide to help them somehow. Maybe they will sneak on board of a trade vessel, although Valgia doesn't seem like the kind of a country that would trade. And this world doesn't seem like the kind of a world that would facilitate trade either. So I'm at a loss, honestly, and I really want to see how they're gonna solve it. If they're gonna solve it. Maybe a bit warmer tones. Yeah, that helps. Okay, so I think that about does it for the previous episode and for today's. So how about we just watch it, right? You're gonna need your subs, of course, to follow along. I'm gonna need my sound to hear what's going on, and I'm gonna have to ask you guys for your support. Support the channel if you want monetarily, Patreon, throw links in the description below, or not. Share my content, spread the word, it's completely free, costs you nothing, helps a lot. And now with all of that out of the way, we can start watching episode 7 of Ooyukiumi no Kaina in 3, 2, 1, go. Indeed. Oh, I thought they're gonna roll the opening. Run where? Stereo. My right ear is very happy. Okay, they're gonna hide in some canals, in sewers, essentially. Yeah. Okay, so they also have issues with water. Interesting. I had the... I thought Valga is much smaller, but no, it's really fucking massive. It's just that the only... There was like only a little space in that inner like dockyard kind of place. Water rations. Yeah, it really drives the point home that Valga isn't just the military. Sure. Atlant doesn't have water either. So... Besides, once you defeat Atlant, and you defeat another country and another country, and you defeat all the countries near all the orbital trees, where are you gonna get your water from? It's not sustainable. Now, sure, desperate situations call for desperate measures, right? Even if conquering all those countries lets Valgia as a whole survive for 20 years more. I mean, Shit, that's 20 years that we have. I don't want to die now. I'd much rather die in 20 years. Duh. So it makes sense that they would so desperately try conquering other countries for the scraps of water they have. But ultimately, eventually, Valgians will be the only humans on this planet. And they will start dying out until there are no humans on the planet. Which seems to be where it's going. And it seems to be what Kaina and the team will prevent, hopefully. There's something... That's my nose itching. How? I mean, yeah, they're determined, if nothing more, if nothing else. And how are you gonna retrieve them later? Shoot him! Use the harpoon gun! Use the fucking harpoon! Yeah, you should not have done that. Fucking run! Chop chop! And yeah, even after dropping their equipment, they still don't look like Valgians, so... It's not like they'll be able to blend in. Grab him? No? You... Okay. I guess doing nothing is also an option. What was that plate? I mean, yeah, it's obvious. Okay, time to smack that kid up. Yeah, time to smack that kid upside the head and get what's yours. That's what I wanted to say. If kindness gets you nothing... Bribery. Okay. Admiral or Amelothay? Neither. Amelothay's adjutant. Okay, so this material is Atlantean shells. Interesting. Yep. Atlanteans are here. Fuck do you mean? Touch the skull? Okay, sure. Did they find her? Like, off-screen? No, they didn't. Are they gonna execute the kid? They're gonna use the fact that nobody knows what Liliha looks like, and they're gonna execute the kid. Okay, death by falling. Yeah, they're gonna execute the kid, and nobody pays any attention that she's wearing Valgan clothes. Why would an Atlantean have Valgan clothes? Sure. Okay, so it's just a morale booster, essentially. Yeah, we have the princess, we're gonna execute her. That means we will surely win with Atlant. You'll get your water soon. She wasn't. She wasn't mistaken. Stab him in the gut before he screams. Okay, so that's the plan. Okay. Because she stole the fucking necklace. Yeah. And that. But she got tied into it all because she stole the necklace. I mean... Yeah, you're gonna die anyway. Is she gonna give herself up? Is that what's gonna happen? The voice actress is really doing work there. Those are some convincing wails. Brave, but stupid. Or rather, stupid, but brave. I'll give her that. Okay, so they're the Russia of this world. Okay, what you gonna do, Amelothe? Superhero landing? Superhero landing, okay. You're gonna fight an unarmed girl. I thought you have a little bit more honor. Give them their gear back at least. You can use the laser cutter, you can use the harpoon gun. Yeah, she's just gonna get captured. Because that's what you did. Is that it? Okay. And Kaina's gonna catch her. That's some great music. And some great visuals. Hope that string is strong. And you like her that way, don't you? You wouldn't be smiling otherwise. It goes deep. It goes super deep. I thought it's like floating, but no, it goes like solid 20-30 meters underwater. Okay, so that's how they're gonna get their gear back, by befriending the thieves. Okay, you're gonna have the time to breathe heavily yet. Run. Right now, run. Bail. Yeah, not gonna be easy to find anyone in this maze of rooms and corridors and stuff that makes up Valgia. So at least they're gonna be safe for a good while. Skulls, bones, Skull Brotherhood, okay. Sure. So I guess that's the ritual. They are the Skull Brotherhood, so they touch the skull. Sure. Why not? Yeah. She was kidnapped. Can you spare food that easily? What do you even eat here? In the canopy they ate bugs, and in here? Dartfish? Maybe. All that's missing in their voice lines is every single one ending with "Ora!" Yeah. It will. It absolutely will. The giant robot. The giant robot. Interesting. Okay, makes sense, I guess. Like Amelothe. Yeah, he's not from Atlant either. The very same. Okay. Interesting. Q raid on their hideout. I mean, those trees are everywhere, so it's not really a tall tale. Okay, a special tree then. I wonder. There we have it. There actually is a special tree. Interesting. Is that gonna be their salvation? And Kaina knows of it. Okay. Valgia is waging wars because your admiral wants to wage wars. I mean, it might as well be just as dry as the other orbital trees, though. Hmm. Like water. Okay, so not actual clear water, but rather some weird mixture of barely filtrated fluids, I'm guessing. If we had a ship. Okay. Grand Theft ship. I don't think even having proof would actually convince the Admiral. Amelothe? Perhaps. Honestly. Admiral? No, he just wants to wage war. Oh, what? Was it really 20-something minutes? I thought we had a little bit more time. A bug landed on the foam in my coffee. Ah, Jesus. I honestly thought we're not that deep into this episode. Hmm. So, we have a target. We have a target, we have a goal. Call it what you will. And this is the band of thieves. Okay, now we know who they are. So we have a target, a giant orbital tree that isn't dried out yet. Interesting. Interesting. So how about we watch it again? Shall we? Shall we? Yes, we shall. Okay. Running. Hiding. Kaina is really slow, I noticed. Like, I know that there's that sense of wonder, right? That's one thing, the sense of wonder. He sees this world for the first time. Then there is the sense of his life in the canopy lacked malice and lacked danger, so he doesn't know how to deal with people wanting him dead. Because why would someone want me dead? I mean, why? What's the point? He doesn't know how to deal with theft because what do I do? Someone taking someone else's thing, that's what even is like having your own things. We always had like common things up in the canopy. Now that kid took something of Liliha, what do I do? Right? Like I understand that there is that. He is sheltered, you could say. He is full of that wonder. But he is behaving in a very slow manner. Like they're yelling at him, "Come the fuck on! They're gonna find us!" And he's just standing there, starry-eyed, looking at Valgia. And later on, too, the kid is running away, and he's like, huh? Minor annoyance. It can be explained, right, by Kaina's upbringing, so don't get me wrong, but minor annoyance. Food, that was the last of her water. They really drive home the point that Valgia is struggling and suffering. A parent yelling at a child because the child spilled water. Water is precious. They get like a cup of water a day. So, of course, it would bring tension. And if your kid spills it, well, shit, you're gonna get angry. Makes sense, right? I don't condone yelling at children or beating children, but it can be explained. Yeah, Valgia really is a shithole. Like, Atlant, sure, Atlant might not have enough water, it might have, I don't know, population issues, it might have whatever, but at least they have some sunlight there, you know? They at least have houses and plazas and roads and stuff like that. This is just slums built on top of slums, built on top of slums, built on top of slums, encased in a wooden box. Valgia is a shithole. I guess they do get some sunlight because it's like a skeletal structure, you could say. It's not like solid wood or solid steel on the outside. It's just a wooden outer wall, and on the inside it's just a haphazard mess of wooden beams. And also, yeah, that means the fortress is only impressive from the outside. On the inside, it's mostly just empty. So you could, like, I don't know, sorry, you could burn it, you could crash into it, you could destroy it, maybe not quite easily, but if you had explosives or something, not a problem. Destroying Valgia would be just a matter of a couple of well-planted explosives, and that's it. They don't have explosives, of course, but if they had. Queuing up for water, ration stamps. It really is a communist utopia, isn't it? Food stamps, water stamps, right? Pretending to be stronger than they really are, trying to hide their incompetence, right? It really is a communist utopia. Working together towards the common goal, right? Yeah, water is also precious in Valgia. That really drives home the point of just complete whatchamacallit, hopelessness, right? Complete hopelessness for the world as a whole. Because it's not a situation where Valgia is rich and prosperous and they have a lot of water but they want more, right? It's not that. They are also starving, probably. They also don't have enough water. Valgia is a shithole. And yet they are the biggest force in the world. So if even them stealing water from everywhere can't sustain their population with water, what hope is there? What hope is there for the world? If even a mobile city that can move from mobile country, really, that can move from a tree to a tree to a tree to a tree, cannot sustain their population. This really is a death world. No joke. It's the very definition of a death world. And I dig it. I dig it. I really do like the concept in general. The concept of worlds, planets that are so hostile to human life that it's beyond our comprehension, and yet people sometimes survive there. I really like the world of Arknights for that reason, for example. The catastrophes, the originium, all that stuff in Arknights, and yet people somehow survive in those little small enclaves of their mobile cities. And here it's the same. The whole world is covered in a layer of liquid and mushroom spores. And yet, on the trunks of the spire trees, some people survive. They persist. The persistence of humanity. It's a really cool concept. It's a really cool thing. I really like stories about the humanity's perseverance. It could be a world that's completely covered in magma. Humanity will find a way to live there. There are plans of inhabiting Venus, even. And they are interesting because you can't really build anything on Venus's surface because it's so hot, because the atmosphere is so dense, the pressure is so high, and it rains acid and shit like that. But you can build flying cities because regular air, regular nitrogen, it has enough density to float those cities at a level in Venus' atmosphere where it's quite nice, maybe a little hot, maybe 30 degrees Celsius or 30 something degrees Celsius, and the air, you can't breathe it. But besides that, it's quite nice. So just wear an oxygen mask and you can stroll on hanging bridges between floating balloon cities. So there are ways hypothetical of colonizing even Venus, and I always find it appealing. Terraforming, colonizing uninhabitable planets. Okay, I could talk about it more and more, so I'm just gonna stop it here. Once we defeat Atlant, we'll get water. Of course, our enemies have what we need. We don't have what we want. We don't have what we need. That makes us justified in attacking our enemies, even though they don't actually have what we don't have. They are in the same situation that we are, but we are justified because they're the rich and spoiled and they hoard all the treasure to themselves, and we are the poor, the downtrodden, and we deserve. As I said, communist utopia, really. We need to get more water. And we are just barely at the opening. Anything else that we can glean from it? Well, we can't see the big tree for sure, unless maybe it was visible in some frames that I'm skipping over. Entirely possible. This big robot, that's probably the Admiral's monster. I wonder how they're gonna deal with it. Maybe the laser cutter? Right? We know that it can be used repeatedly when on the lowest setting, and when you crank it up, it needs some time to recharge, but it's powerful, so maybe that's gonna be the weapon against it. Or maybe something much more mundane. Like, there's a password to controlling it. And the Admiral knows that password because he can read. And so he read that password and remembered it and said it, and now the robot is under his control. And then Kaina finds this password, remembers it, says the word, and now the robot is under his control. I wonder. Or maybe there even is like a longer password, and the Admiral can only have a command like wake up, and the robot wakes and just solves distraction. But Kaina can read more. So he reads all the commands, and he can say, wake up, don't listen to that guy, attack Valgia. And the robot does just that. I wonder. Writing and reading and words are going to be a thing. I'm 100% convinced of that. I just have to wonder how exactly. Giant robot needs a password to work. Kaina can read it. Or he can read like the instruction manual and know how to disable it. That's also possible. Fortress Nation. Leaving their gear unwise. One, because you just don't do that. You don't leave your gear in a completely unfamiliar city. If they were somewhere in the wilderness, sure, find some tree like root flare and hide your gear under the roots and cover it with some branches, and you're set. Right? Nobody is out there in the wilderness. As long as you remember where it's hidden, perfect. But it's a city. It's the middle of a city. I mean, I I had an old couch, right? It was infested with bed bugs that I brought here with. I think it was some boxes, like cardboard boxes. I bought to stash some of my stuff and sort it, and probably that's where the bed bugs were, or in the new furniture that I got, or somewhere. I don't know. My couch got infested with bed bugs. I threw it out. By the time I came back and I started looking for a new couch to buy, that couch was already gone. I mean, people take things in cities, even if they're hidden. Like you could hide a half-eaten bag of pretzels somewhere behind an electrical box on a random street on a random corner. You come back the next day, it's no longer there because someone took it and ate it or threw it out. So hiding things in a place where the inhabitants know hiding places better than you do, not a great idea. Besides that, as was said later, the Skull Group Thieves, whatever they're called, said, you look different. You don't dress like Valgians. So even hiding their gear still doesn't make them look like Valgians. So what's the point? And they know that they're not gonna look like Valgians because every single fucking Valgian person looks the same, with their funny beret and monochromatic coat. And they are designed like in detail. So of course they're gonna look out of place, no matter how much of their clothing they hide. Stupid move. Stupid move for sure. And putting all those important things like that openly, It's also not great. And getting distracted, like, you don't do that. And of course, Kaina being slow as fuck. This is my hole, it was meant for me. Also interesting, Kaina's endurance, Kaina's stamina is wasn't it established earlier that he has like inhumane, not inhumane, like inhuman. Is that a word, or is it inhumane? No, because inhumane comes from humane, not from human. Inhuman, superhuman, whatever you want to call it, strength and stamina and whatnot. Right? Yaona had to stop to take a rest, and Kaina was perfectly fine. He's a superhuman for all intents and purposes, so why is he winded after a little bit of a chase? I don't know. I don't know. And he just stands there. Okay, mate. Someone throws a plate at him, and that just makes Kaina rooted in place and just glaring at the people who threw the plate. Again, I know that he's not accustomed to hostility, he's not accustomed to stealing, to all that jazz, right? But there is like a limit to it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. You're the new guys. Yeah, I've never seen clothes like yours before. Even undressing didn't really let you blend in. Kindness won't get you anywhere here. Everyone's struggling to get by. Yeah, it's visible. Very well visible. Got a special ration. And of course, Amelothe's adjutant made it here. There is an interesting thing going on with faces in this show. Usually, with like 2D shows, people in the background have either don't have faces or have very simplistic faces, and then the foreground characters have very expressive and very detailed faces. Seems like something that would not be a limitation for CG, because you could literally make like 5 detailed faces and slap them on every NPC, right, quote unquote, and it would work. Or you could make like modular faces, like three types of eyes, 3 types of mouths, 3 types of hair. That's 3 times 3, 9 times 3, 27. Yeah, 27. That's 27 different faces. Add 1 more type of eyes, and you suddenly get like what, 12 times 3, 36 types of different faces. Modular things. But it keeps to that 2D tradition of background people having either no faces at all because they're wearing helmets, or very, very simple faces, like those people who were getting water, right? Like those. Okay, I guess they have different types of eyebrows and stuff. Okay, I take it back. The eyes look very similar though, so there's that. But yeah, the NPC faces are also very simplistic and very samey. Meanwhile, not even main, but like foreground people have very expressive faces. And even this random guy, even his face is very, like, it's super expressive. Right? Like, just look at those expressions. And look at this expression. And Amelothe's adjutant is the same. He also has so many different expressions. He's so expressive. Like, look at his face. Look at it. Isn't it great? But it's interesting that they aren't giving those detailed, expressive faces to NPCs. And I think I know why. Because it shows you in no uncertain terms who matters. I think it's it used to be just a byproduct of drawing people into the. You simply don't spend the time detailing faces of people who don't matter, because why would you do that? They don't matter, they're just the background noise. So that was, I presume, the initial drive as to why NPCs don't have detailed faces and expressive faces. But the side effect is that you instantly know who's the main character, right? Like, there's that meme of a classroom full of people and there's only one person with fully drawn face and some atrocious neon pink hair spot the protagonist. It makes it easy. And in this case, it also makes it easy to know who matters. I don't know what was the point of that rant. Or if it even was a rant. Or a praise. I don't know what it was, and I don't know what the point of it was, but faces, good. I like. That's what I was trying to say. Is this a hunting tool? Yeah, I guess you could say that. This is kind of I don't know if I could call it forced. Like, don't forget our ritual. Oh, right, and touches the skull. I don't know. I'm just not gonna say anything about it then. Princess of Atlant infiltrated. And the execution of the Princess of Atlant. I really thought they're going for just essentially a morale boost, right? Look, we have the princess of the enemy country and she will be executed right now. And just as she falls, their nation will also fall. And the splash she makes in the fluid in the middle of our city will be doubled by the splash of water we get from Atlant. All hail the Admiral, right? Something like that. But no, it's just a play to smoke Liliha out, because she has a big and warm heart and she won't allow for such injustice. Interesting way of mounting that thing. Interesting as in those knots look very loose. They could have been made better. They're CG. They could have been made better. Doesn't matter. I'm just nitpicking at this point, honestly. Yeah, it could have looked better. Okay. Like, some of them look good, but some of them don't. The voice actress giving voice to this kid just went above and beyond. Those wails, those screams, they really like stirred something in me, right? I really didn't want her to be hurt. Some long lost empathy was awakened within me. Princess Liliha of Atlant. I mean, does anybody even believe that she wears Valgan clothes? And those people would know that there are different types of clothing, because they themselves, not all, are Valgans. They were just kidnapped from other nations and probably given those clothes to unify them and to make them lose their individuality and make them lose the ways they would represent their former nations. You no longer are Gulian. You no longer are Gulian. You can no longer wear Gulian sandals. You're now gonna wear Valgan clothes because now you're a Valgan, right? Yeah, those screams are convincing. Really convincing. Don't you think this is the best way to lure out a cockroach in hiding? Indeed. And that also, there was some discussion whether the Admiral is like the head honcho of Valgia or not. I guess this episode fully confirms that there isn't a king of Valgia or a prince of Valgia or whoever of Valgia. He is the ruler of Valgia, period. He's here as the representative, and he has the control of that robot. I'm assuming he's the ruler of Valgia. Why is Chiro being executed in your place? Well, she shouldn't have stolen. Also interesting, I guess interesting. Understandable and painful how quickly he just gets completely defeated. Yeah, what's the point of saving her? What's the point of fighting? What's the point of anything? Water is running out. Everyone here is just trying to get by for one more day anyway. What's the point? She might die of thirst in like a week. We might all die of thirst in like a couple of days. We might starve. We might get drafted and die fighting Atlant. What's the fucking point fighting? What's the point struggling? Very defeatist attitude, but understandable. They are in a shitty situation, in a shithole of a country. Those screams again, I can't listen to them. They're so real. They understand each other without words. Hear me, Valgians, I'm the Princess of Atlant, Liliha. That girl is not from Atlant. If you execute an innocent girl as if she was the princess, then the entire Snow Sea will hear about Valgia's incompetence. And Amalothe just jumps into fight, landing superhero style. Boom. Also, yeah, you gotta appreciate that motion blur. Often, CG shows are too crisp. When things move, they move at 60 FPS. You don't get that blur because when you render a CG sequence of animation, you don't need that blur. It's something you add optionally. They went that step beyond and added that blur because it's something that's commonly added, commonly done in 2D anime. And so, to mimic that style, they also added motion blur here. It's cool. It really shows the amount of care they put into the show. I expected better of you, Amalothe, than pulling a weapon on an unarmed girl. I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed. Black Armor of Valgia. No one in the whole Snow Sea can beat Amalothe in a sword fight because she has a cybernetically enhanced armor. Yeah, we're not gonna kill you, we're just gonna have you join. If you want to save your people, abandon your family status and live on as a soldier of Valgia. That's exactly what Amalothe did. That's exactly what she did. How many of the people of your country are still alive, though? That's a question. That's a question. Also, very interesting thing that Valgia is doing. Absorbing the conquered nations. It makes sense, as they said, to replenish their troops, replenish their population in general, right? It makes perfect sense to do that. But don't you risk insurrections? I guess not. I guess not, because people who join you more or less willingly. They just want to live. And if given the choice between dying and being free or living and joining Valgia, honestly, I too would rather live and join Valgia. So it makes perfect sense. Like you did, you mean? That's a bit of a pain point for Amalothe, for sure. Also, that's a very thin thread. And, of course, saving her at the last moment. And here she is again, smiling at Ririha's shenanigans. She likes it. She likes Liliha. She likes when people are defiant. She likes when people put up some resistance. She can appreciate it in a person. I really do like Amelothe. She's not all like, angry, that fucking princess escaped me again. No, she's, that was actually fucking smart. That was actually clever and brave. Damn, she can't be underestimated. I like it. I like that cat and mouse chase. Meanwhile, he is like, she escaped again. Burn it to the ground, smoke them out. I'm so angry. Right? Wait, I just had a weird thought. His right eye is the one that's healthy. The big robot also had the right eye glowing. Amelothe has robotic arm. What if that robot is not actually a robot, but rather a big ass fuck off exosuit that he can wear? Just a random thought. Just a random thought. A giant robot is actually an exosuit. I wonder. Some pretty views, some pretty music, some great music in this series. Also interesting just how deep Valgia goes. I really thought it's just floating, but now it just goes deep underwater. I wonder how they build it. That's actually an interesting question. How did they even build it? I wonder if it started off as actually a floating platform they built, and then they started building some buildings on top, and so it would sink a little. So they would start building higher, and it would sink, and they would start building higher, and it would sink, right? I think that might be the case. Because the initial purpose of Valgia, as we learn later, was rescuing people from the dried out trees. And even now they are taking in people of other nations, so you would need to expand. You can't exactly expand horizontally because you lose the layer of armor, but you can expand vertically. I guess that would also explain why the insides are such a hodgepodge of everything, because they just keep adding things without much care of what they're adding, right? Someone needs a house, fuck it, let's build a house up on the deck. The entire deck is full. The entire deck is filled with houses. Sure, build more houses on top of those houses, right? That kind of an organic development. That's one hell of a strong string, because I can't really call it a rope. Overlook nothing, not even a cat is fly. Valga is big. And you can see that construction still going on at the top, right? Those are not catapults. Those are trebuchets, not cranes. I thought they're cranes they're using for construction, but no, they're just trebuchets. But you can see that the top is a little like uneven and scruffy looking. Meanwhile, the bottom is like smooth, not really, but smoother layer of armor. So at the top, there is still some spaces, not filled with buildings. Getting their gear back. Skull Brotherhood. Noze, Chiru, Liliha, Yauna. And they can get their stuff back. Those guys really those voice lines really feel like they should start adding "Urra, urra, urra" at the end of every single voice line. I watched Tiabu's reaction to Plastic Nessun recently, and this instantly reminded me of those thugs who were overusing the "Urra," and it was severely missing in this scene. But I guess it would add a little bit of comedy, and it's not necessarily a haha situation, so sure, it works the way it is. That's why you have to find a way back. This fortress is just for show, but there's something scarier than the fortress or the fleet. Pet monster. Our nation fell because of that monster too. I was about to question why do other nations not know of this supposed monster? But I guess... Sorry. An ant. But I guess Valga is very thorough. One thing, Valga is very thorough. They take as many people as they can, and the rest they probably murder. Or they are left to their own devices on a dried out tree and just die of thirst and starvation. But also, there isn't really any good way of communication between countries in this world, it seems. Like, they have the snow steeds, but are there any couriers going between those cities, those countries? Does every orbital tree have a country on the root flare? I don't know. But yeah, maybe they just don't have ways of communicating well between countries. We are kidnapped. Valga absorbs survivors from nations they've destroyed. Former soldiers can move up the ranks as long as they're strong, the exact way Amelothe did. Kids are trained. Your clothes are seriously weird. Yeah, they are. But of course, Kaina's clothes are exceptionally weird because he's from the canopy. The one in the sky. Kind of a bummer that we didn't hear that explanation. It was just a bit of a time skip. But sure, time constraints, I understand. But I would like to hear like a full summary of what he said there. You really are from the canopy? Indeed, the sage is just a fairy tale. Giant spider tree large enough to feed the entire world. And it seems to actually exist. And it's glowing, so it's not dry. And Kaina saw it from the canopy. This, I'm gonna be honest, this kinda came out of nowhere. Honestly. I would have much preferred if this tree was somewhere in like episode 1. Or maybe it was. Maybe I just didn't pay attention. Shit. I'm gonna have to check episode 1 and maybe 2 again to see the views from the canopy. Because I was about to say that it would have been better if this tree was seen there in like episode 1, but we just paid no mind because there are trees, there are bigger ones, there are smaller ones. Oh well, it's just how this world works. But now suddenly it turns out that shit, it's significant. It matters. Because the fact that Kaina suddenly remembers this tree's existence kind of came out of nowhere. If that tree was real, then Valgia wouldn't be waging wars like this. I wonder if the Admiral knows that this tree exists, but he simply likes war so fucking much. He doesn't want to solve the problem. He wants the problem to continue. He wants to have a pretext. He wants to have a pretense for war. He knows that there is an infinite source of water in that big tree, but if it is there, then what's the reason for him waging wars, right? If they can just anchor down there and build a city and live in prosperity with all the water they could ever drink, what's the point to war? And what's the point to him, right? I think that might be a part of it. Solving the problem would severely limit the amount of power he wields. Valga ended up this way because orbital trees around the sea started drying up. So my initial impressions were correct, that I probably noted somewhere in this page and a half of notes that Valga, just like the other countries, just wanted water. The ship went around saving people when orbital trees dried up, but they didn't have enough water for everybody initially, so they started conquering nations that did have some water. Lights from the luminous shell, so it's not dried up. Okay, so that's a sign of the tree being alive. Water they ration out to us is anything but. We live off fluids harvested from snow horses and bugs. Okay, so probably just snow horse piss, snow horse blood, crushed up bugs, whatever they can use to salvage some fluid, filtered through some cloth and seaweed, and that's the best you can get. So it's probably even worse than Atlant, because it seems that Atlant has precious little water, but at least it's actual water, or at least tree sap. Birch sap. I hope it's birch sap. Birch sap is fucking delicious. Highly recommend. If you see birch sap somewhere at a store, buy it. If it's pure, squeeze in a little bit of lemon, it's even better. If it's with lemon already, even better. Although pure birch sap is also great. They found entrance, impossible to get there on foot, but we could get there by ship. So now we're gonna play Grand Theft Ship. And we're gonna steal a ship from Valgia, and we're gonna get out there in search for the big orbital tree. Or maybe Amelothe is gonna help us. I can see a scene playing out where they are captured, because they will be captured, because of course, somewhere in a prison cell or something, and they're saying, release us, we know the source of water, all the problems, all the issues for Valgia could end, just trust us, go there and you will find all the water. And then the admiral is like, ha 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 ha, you think I want water? No, I want to wage war. I don't want to solve the problem because the problem gives me power. And just being fully open about it, and Amelothe just scowls at it. And later on, Amelothe comes to check on the prisoners, and they manage to convince her to help them break out and get a ship and sail for the big orbital tree and save everybody's problems. And then the finale is the admiral taking out this big robot or exosuit or whatever it is, trying to destroy that huge tree, because if there is no water, then he can forever wage war. You know what I mean? Something like that. That's my prediction. How do I even note it down? Main Karas are imprisoned. Admiral reveals he doesn't want to solve water problems, 'cause that means no more reason for war. Amelothe frees them. Okay. Where's the accent? First E. Amelothei. Okay. Nobody's gonna believe you without proof. Proof. What proof can we have? None. That's the problem. Yeah, stop. Pause. Soldiers are here. And cliffhanger. I might honestly record one more today. Because this cliffhanger was brutal, one. And two, it really didn't feel like 20-something minutes. This episode was like 13 minutes long, no more. Crazy. Completely bonkers. How quickly that episode went. Oh boy. I always say it. But remember how I said at the beginning that I took a break from recording and my motivation to record was lower than whatnot. It's filled up. My tanks are full. I want to record. I want to watch more. I want to watch more of Ooyukiumi no Kaina. I want to watch more of Benriya Saitou-san. Symphogear. I'm super pumped for tomorrow's Symphogear. Yeah. So, I guess the lesson to be taken from this video, if you don't feel like engaging in your hobbies, break through that block, engage with your hobbies, and you will find that spark again. Okay, but more about this episode. I think this was episode that I was probably the most critical of so far. And that's saying something, because my criticism for it was mostly just mild. Mostly just, I understand why Kaina did what he did, but it annoyed me. And those notes didn't look as good as they could have. And that was my criticism for this episode. And I still loved it despite of it. So that says something, doesn't it? What else? What else? It's interesting how this show decided to tackle the villains and the antagonists. You have to put a little bit of a distinction there between the villains and the antagonists of this series. Valgia is the antagonist, but they aren't the villains. They aren't. Simple as. The only person I can call a villain here is the Admiral, honestly. And even that, assuming that he actually is as much of a warmonger as I think he is. And I think he is, but we don't... that scene I mentioned that I can see in my mind's eye, if it plays something like that, then that will be a confirmation that he's a warmonger. If he notices that, hey, maybe it's actually worth a shot, maybe we can just go there and find some water, that'd be cool, then I'm gonna change my view of him, what can I say? But there's an interesting distinction between villains and antagonists in this show. Like, Valgia isn't maliciously antagonistic to Atland. They just want to survive. It's understandable. They are struggling for survival, just like Atland is. Does it give them the right to conquer Atland, to attack them, to kill their people? No. Does it justify their actions? Not really. Are their actions understandable? Yeah, perfectly. Also, the fact that they don't just perform a genocide on the nations they conquer, but rather they absorb them. That's also a bit of a point of absolution for Valgia. They aren't fully just nonsensically evil. There is a sense of utilitarianism there, but there is also a chance of survival for the people who Valgia fight. Their enemies aren't being cut down to the last leg, they are given a chance to just join them. So Valgia isn't a villain. Valgia isn't a villain. The Admiral might be, not sure about that. If he isn't, then this will be one of the very, very rare pieces of media that doesn't have a villain. And that's something you don't see often. And that's something I wish we could see often, where there is no villain. The antagonist is the world, for example. The antagonist is some monsters. The antagonist is, I don't know, something else. There is no villain. We struggle, our main characters struggle against something, fight against something, but not a mustache twirling villain. Some catastrophical movies. That's a genre I haven't seen in a while. But, you know, the movies that are about like huge tsunamis and 50 twisters coming into the city and the poles of Earth rotating and, you know, 2012, various shit like that. Those are, I think, the only example of the best example, the most common example of movies without a villain, of media without a villain. And even then, I noticed that in those movies, they always did try to add some black character, some villain, like some mustache twirling CEO of a corporation that wanted to suppress the information about the cataclysm that will be coming soon, or, you know, something like that. Someone who would stand to benefit from it. So even when you had the perfect antagonist in the form of nature, in the form of world itself, they still had to squeeze in that personification. Someone to hate, a character to hate, a character for the viewer to focus their attention on. Because we can't have such abstract concepts as man versus nature, or man versus himself, or, you know, all those various things. It has to be man versus man. That's the only conflict that ever existed in media and that will ever exist in media forever. So it's interesting. I guess that's also a reason why I like stories about the Death World so much. Why I like Arknights. Like, sure, there are villains in Arknights, right? The whole reunion, upper echelon, Talula, Mephisto, and so on. Although they are to a degree sympathetic, so that's another matter. And later on, other villains. But the main antagonist is the world that gives you rock cancer and destroys cities and whatnot. And in this story, the main antagonist is also the world. I'm gonna be honest. I fully believe that Ooyukiumi no Kaina would work perfectly fine without the threat of Valgia. If it was just an adventure series of them trying to find a way to save the world. Right? Kaina suddenly remembers that huge big tree as they go on a journey there, and they go through some adventures in that en route and then inside of that tree. Right? Things like that. If this series didn't have a villain, it would still have an antagonist. The whole world is antagonistic. I wonder what they do to the Admiral, but I think he will be the villain until the last moment. I think I should stop here because it's already been an hour and 24 minutes, and I was thinking of making my videos a little shorter because not many people have the mental fortitude to sit through an hour and a half for every 24-minute episode. So I think I'm just gonna end it here. Do I have anything more to say? I don't think so. Great episode with some mild criticism. I love Amalothe. I really like what they're doing with it, and I really want to see where it's going next. But maybe you have something more to add, and if you do, say so in the comments down below. What did you think of this episode, of my reaction, of my theories, stuff like that? No spoilers, please. I know episode 8 and 9 are already out. I'm gonna watch them, no worries. If you do want to talk spoilers, there's my Discord server, there's a link here, there's also an invite in the description, you can join it, and there's an Ooyukiumi Kaina channel where you can talk about stuff using spoiler tags, and I'm not gonna see them, simple as. Like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it, but tell me why so I can improve, subscribe to the channel to be notified of future releases of not only Ooyukiumi Kaina, but also Benriya Saitou-san Isekai ni Iku, Symphogear AXZ, and other series that I'm gonna be starting in the future. Hopefully, maybe I hope to God that I will. And support the channel. If you, I also stream sometimes, so you might want to click the bell icon to be notified when I go live. Support the channel if you want monetarily. Patreon thrown links in the description below. On Patreon for $10 a month, you get early access to non-seasonal shows like Symphogear AXZ, like Madoka Magic and others, and for just $1, you get a role on the Discord and a place in the credits. And if you don't want to spend any money, share my content, spread the word. It costs you nothing and helps the channel an awful lot. And then now, with all of that out of the way, that's gonna be it from me for today. So as always, you guys do all the good stuff, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Cheers! And here's the outro, and you can be one of those beautiful, beautiful Patreons, if only your heart desires.